Hey guys, quick question. What would you be willing to sacrifice for what you believe in? Would you risk friendships, popularity, or even safety? Today we're talking about what it really costs to stand firm in our faith. And trust me, this is a lesson we all need to hear. In life, we all face moments when we have to make a choice, either stand firm in what we believe or take the easy way out. As Christians, that choice becomes even more intense because following Jesus isn't always popular. It's not always the easy path. There's a cost to standing firm in our faith. In John 11:47 through 57, we're going to see how this played out in the life of Jesus. After performing amazing miracles, Jesus' influence was growing, but not everyone was happy about it. The religious leaders were starting to plot against him, and they were willing to go to extreme lengths to stop him. This passage is all about the cost of belief and how sometimes standing firm in faith means facing opposition. Let's dive into the scripture to see how Jesus handled it and what it means for us today. Let's check out some verses from the passage of John 11:47 through 57 in the NLT. 47. Then the leading priests and Pharisees called the high council together. "What are we going to do?" they asked each other. "This man certainly performs many miraculous signs. If we allow him to go on like this, soon everyone will believe in him. Then the Roman army will come and destroy both our temple and our nation." Caiaphas, who was high priest at the time, said, "You don't know what you're talking about. You don't realize that it's better for you that one man should die for the people than for the whole nation to be destroyed." And then in 53, so from that time on, the Jewish leaders began to plot Jesus' death. This is a pivotal moment. Jesus' growing popularity has made him a target. So let's unpack this and see how it applies to our lives. All right, so here's the problem. The religious leaders were feeling threatened. They saw Jesus doing miracles, changing lives, and winning people over. But instead of celebrating what God was doing, they saw him as a threat to their power and their control. They were more worried about losing their status and position than they were about the truth. And this brings us to a challenge we all face. What happens when following Jesus costs us something? Maybe it's losing popularity, missing out on certain social circles, or even being judged for standing up for your faith. It's easy to follow Jesus when everything goes smoothly. But what about when it actually costs you? This passage shows us that believing in Jesus comes with a price, and sometimes people around us just won't like it. Let's break this down. In the passage, the religious leaders are plotting to kill Jesus. Why? Because they're afraid of losing control. They knew if Jesus kept performing miracles and people kept believing in him, the Romans might step in and take away their power. Caiaphas, the high priest, even said it better for one man to die than for the whole nation to be destroyed. What's wild is that he didn't even realize how true his words were. He thought he was protecting his own interests. But God was using that moment to show the ultimate truth. Jesus would die for the nation. And not just the nation, but for the whole world. His death was part of God's bigger plan to save all of us. So here's where it hits home. Just like Jesus faced opposition, we're going to face challenges too. Standing firm in your faith can make people uncomfortable. It can lead to pushback, criticism, or even rejection. But just like Jesus, we're called to trust in God's bigger plan, even when it's tough. Here's the key. Jesus didn't back down, even though he knew what was coming. He knew the cost of what he was about to do, but he stood firm because he knew it was worth it. And that's our challenge today, to stand firm in our faith even when the cost is high, because we trust in God's greater purpose for our lives. Now let's zoom in on a key moment. Caiaphas says it's better for one man to die than for the whole nation to be destroyed. That statement might sound harsh, but what Caiaphas didn't realize was that he was actually prophesying without even knowing it. Jesus would die for the sins of the world. His death wasn't just an accident. It was part of God's plan to bring salvation to everyone who believes in him. And here's where it gets real for us. Sometimes standing firm in our faith means facing hard situations, just like Jesus did. We might not be called to sacrifice our lives, but we might be called to sacrifice our comfort, our popularity, or even our reputation. But when we do that, we're stepping into the same kind of faith that Jesus had. And that's where real transformation happens. Think about it. If Jesus was willing to lay down his life for us, how can we not stand firm in our belief in him, no matter the cost? So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Following Jesus isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Just like Jesus faced opposition from the religious leaders, we'll face moments where standing firm in our faith will be challenging. But here's the good news. Jesus has already gone before us. He's faced the ultimate cost, and he's given us the strength to stand firm. The next time you face pushback for your faith, remember the example of Jesus. He knew the cost, and he was willing to pay it. And because of his sacrifice, we have the power to stand firm in the face of anything that comes our way. Now it's your turn. What challenges have you faced when it comes to standing firm in your faith? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you're looking for more encouragement, check out the next video in this series where we dive deeper into living out your faith boldly. If you've been inspired by this message and feel called to support our ministry, we'd love for you to partner with us through Patreon with the link in our description below. Your support helps us continue spreading the word and reaching more lives. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, God bless.